Well, we are back and we are ready spaghetti for round five, and we are going to join the spaghetti monsters themselves as we watch the Eldrazi deck one more time as it faces off against blue white.
Yeah, and this time we're looking at a bit more traditional build of blue-white. The only creatures we're seeing here are four Wall of Omens. Then we're looking at four Teferi, three Gideon, one Karn, four Steal Away, four Oust, three Cleansing Nova, one Friction Rebirth, and then our instant package is four Opt, four Wizard's Retort, which is basically just a fancy way of saying cancel here, two Syncopate, and one White Sun Zenith. Facing off our well-known, what did he call it? Fettuccine Monogrini. Gotta love July Strike for that. It's the
Just
second
giving
out
our
here really.
giving our players a minute to get set up here as we move into round five. Right, why don't you run us through that Fettuccine Monogrini deck again? It's looking to cast Scape Shift into a number of Eldrazi temples, and then what's at the top end there?
On the top end here, we see now that July Strike is playing in the Karn. You are in the match, right?
I am trying to find it.
It is way on the bottom on the Moto page. But we see Karn as sort of like a middle stop for July Strike. On the top end, we see two Cosmic Budget Through, four Eldrazi conscriptions to make all our weird guys big and beefy. And then we see four Inkmoth Nexus. That did make a Twitter appearance, I believe you said earlier.
That's right.
But
Inkmoth Nexus enchanted with Eldrazi conscription, prompting a concession. As our players
yes,
face off in the profile avatar mirror match here, two birds of paradise fighting.
yes. But the only real top end is the two Cosmic Budget Through. Um, but we have seen July Strike just look at his Inkmoth Nexus and just go sideways.
Yeah, why not? Let's just attack for 10 poison damage, slow and steady. Plague Mirror, an interesting solution to the Wall of Omens problem that we've talked about in the past. We've seen a lot of walls come out. Infect does steadily take those down, and July Zerg's deck has shown us it's nothing if not steady.
Yeah, just quietly whittling it down. Both these players are sitting at 2-2, so this is what I imagine to be a win and in for them. I haven't delved deeply into the way standings pan out, but I have a hard time imagining or not imagining the winner from this to go in. Let me see. 3-1s go to sixth place. That leaves. Actually, there might be a few 3-2s standing on the outside looking in.
Either way, happy to watch this infect Eldrazi deck one more time here, and
Yeah,
we will get back to mono green very shortly for all you mono green aficionados out there.
I can promise you, our mono green players are both in the top eight. Actually, we have a concession on table one where the mono green players were facing each other, and with one of them being at 4-0 and the other being at 3-1, they decided to even it out. So Remy conceded to Louis, so putting both our mono green players at 4-1.
So mono green, clearly the deck to beat going into the top eight here.
Yes.
As we see a Wizard's Retort on an Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah. Cancel is also legal, so you can just play cancel if you want to. But of course, there's the the good feeling you get in your stomach, like way down in your stomach when you play the strictly better version of the card.
Well, and Wizard's Retort definitely going to test a little bit better when your opponent Cabal therapies your cancels and then misses.
Exactly. But that actually there's an argument to you should split them because if you have no wizards, I don't
Yeah,
think
they're
there
identical.
is a single wizard. So maybe you want to play 2-2 split. It is something to consider. And we have an Eldrazi conscription.
Or do we?
All right,
Is this a syncopate or not? Are we opting?
Collinator.
We're doing something.
Things are happening. Oh my god.
Oh,
Oh,
cancel again.
boo hoo.
Eldrazi Conscription did see a good bit of constructed play back in its time in Standard, but of course no one was casting it. We were just going to get it out of our deck due to Sovereigns of Lost Alara.
Yeah, that is like I've heard murmurings of the deck because it's just like I just missed that standard format.
That deck was called Bant Mythic because it was at the time wildly expensive, uh, and I think now is just kind of standard for what a deck is.
Yeah, we see Castle Lake here, and
All right,
Coordinator
you
is
may counter my Eldrazi Conscription, but I would like to draw 4 cards and have a 12/12 Annihilator. And the spaghetti is out to play.
spaghetti has been served.
What do we do about this?
What do we do? That's a good
Kozilek
question.
does not have indestructible, unlike some of its fellow companions. So you can deal with a Kozilek, though not usually very profitably. But as you mentioned, July Zerg only has 2 Eldrazi in the deck, so
Oh, one just shuffled back in, and also there's the thing that the cards that July Cirque draw, like the 4 cards, they are like they're Ancient Stirrings, they're Plague Mirrors, they're Eldritch Rejuvenators, they're Sphere of the Suns, they're all this dust. They it might not be super impactful cards. So maybe Collinator is actually. I mean, don't imagine that he's like super happy about this, but it's not a disaster.
well,
I
you'd
think.
certainly rather cleansing Nova than get attacked, right? Although we see the Inkmoth Nexuses come out to play, and July Zerg is more than happy to play a slow, grindy game. And we've mentioned a couple times that the removal in this format is very sorcery speed.
Yeah,
Inkmoth
but
Nexus
there is
takes
force
advantage of
in
that.
play here.
Seal
There is
away
force.
the exception to the rule.
Yeah, and I think Collinator is very happy with how things have panned out here.
But July Zerg is a patient player playing a patient deck. So um, the blue deck is certainly stabilizing, but hasn't found a way to pull ahead yet.
Yeah, and the blue deck needs to present something to win the game here. There needs to be some kind of convincing argument that you're actually intending to win the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, July
Now,
Strike will just continue to
ousting
scratch and pickle.
ousting will just sort of delay the game a little bit more, but that Inkmoth Nexus does continue to plunk away at the infect tokens on Carlinator.
Yeah, Collinator needs also some card dimensions to pull ahead here. It needs to find that
Needs a
Teferi.
blue Sun Zenith or
Yeah, they're not in the main
whatever's
deck.
available.
They're
Teferi. I assume he's playing Teferis.
there's 4 Teferi, and there's 1 card. So just some way of.
Ooh,
Oh,
Scape Shift is going to grab more Inkmoth Nexuses, more Eldrazi Temples.
yes, give it to me.
Could we see an Eldrazi conscription on an Inkmoth Nexus? Could it happen?
I imagine we will. Also, this pulls out a lot of lands of July Psychic deck.
Right.
Like,
This green
they're
deck's
not just.
showing it's very resilient and more than happy to just sit here, cast a Plague Mirror, and take its time. And eventually, you're going to have to handle 3 Inkmoth Nexus. Can you do it, blue deck? I mean, now even Teferi can't tuck the Inkmoth Nexus, and Inkmoth Nexus can attack Teferi.
Yeah, and we just clenching over a singular Plague Mirror.
Yeah.
Collinator cannot be happy with how things have panned out here.
Nexuses coming to life.
Yeah. Oh, Collinator has some beautiful sideboard tech versus Inkmoth Nexi.
I look forward to hearing about it.
It's the well-known constructed stable light mine field out of Rise of the Eldrazi.
Light Minefield. Uh, Last time we saw that in Set Roulette, it was dealing with Vengevines. Um, this time, perhaps also dealing with Vengevines, but does does handle these Inkmoth Nexuses. Read me the text of Light Minefield.
It's an enchantment that costs 2 and 2 white. Whenever one or more creatures attack, Light Mine Field deals damage to each of those creatures equal to the number of attacking creatures.
So you cannot attack with your 1/1s, and you can't attack with 3 Vengevines.
Exactly. There's also 2 Invoke the Divine to give some instant speed removal for these Inkman Nexus. So, like, Colonnade losing the first game here, sure, that was obviously not what they hoped for, but he has some tools in the sideboard. There's also 2 blues on Zenith. Because if you look at this game, it feels like Colonnade was just outgrinded. Sure, he lost to Inkmoth next night, but he could also have lost to like a Plague Mirror with an Eldrazi conscription, or July finding another Kozilek. So
Sure.
maybe some card draw is needed. Because this just, if you don't analyze this matchup, it just looks like, yeah, it's a green beatdown deck. It does some weird stuff, but essentially it's a green beatdown deck. But that's not at all what went on here.
No, it just slowly and steadily developed its board until it could cast its Kozilek. And
Yeah, it's
then
sort of like a
drew
control
four
mirror.
cards, and eventually we're gonna we're gonna grind you out. Um,
Yeah,
and if Teferi isn't in play on the other side of the table, then that works just fine. Now it'll be interesting to see these light mine fields if they hit the battlefield, and if July Zurich has an answer for them, or if it just
yeah.
becomes a game about casting spaghetti monsters at that point.
There's just one light minefield, so
So it is a low chance of interacting, but these games go long, as we just saw.
yep. There's also 3 Mirroring Crusader if Colonnade want to go on the offensive. Um,
Which we
and
might
then
see.
some more counter
Clearly,
spells, two
there
cancels
there is a
in the
need
sideboard they might
to
come in.
put some kind of a clock, right? If the long game isn't guaranteed to go your way, then you've got to do something different.
Yeah, I would see. I would imagine we would see either Mirroring Crusader or Blues and Zenith come in, because that it it signifies what kind of plan you're on. I have a hard time imagining both cards coming unless you feel like your main deck is really bad, and it's not that bad. Uh,
No, I mean they
the
played
main
a
deck is
slow,
fine.
steady um, game, and we just saw the green deck pull ahead because it was able to get enough mana
That
to cast an Eldrazi.
Yeah, that scape shift was really powerful actually.
Scapeshift for value, usually not something you see. Usually Scapeshift gets cast and then the game is over. But in this case, it just went and got 7 utility lands, and that was
Yeah,
all that
it's a shame we don't
July
have
Zerg needed.
Simon here. It's really a shame we don't have Simon here today. A good friend of the stream, Simon Nilsson. I know he is a lover of these weird scape shifts. These scape shifts where now I scape shift and now we play 5 more turns.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Simon, I know he's playing a Flesh and Blood event today, but hopefully he'll get a chance to watch these VODs and see
Yeah,
the beauty that is Set Roulette come to life.
yeah. It's we had 17 players today, and I know a lot of others would have wished to be here, Simon included. Um, and hopefully we'll be able to bring the event to you another time.
Yeah, we did miss a couple of large conflicts when we were scheduling this out. I think we decided to put this event together in December, and honestly, the idea of it even happening in February was seemed so far away at the
Yeah,
time. We had so much work to do that we just missed the fact that this wasn't the best possible weekend to do it. So Anders being a European player and myself being a filthy casual, Um, we did miss
Yeah.
some U.S. calendar events, but I know some of those players are still really excited about Set Roulette. Hope to see an even bigger turnout than this
Yeah, can
for
I just
next month's event or
yeah,
next
and like
season's event.
next season, yeah, and we're happy for all of you here. We couldn't do it without you. But can I just redirect your attention back to the game? Four forest, tap them all, sack them all, four temples. Where's your god now?
This calls for a screenshot.
And we have Karn just idling away, generating a bit of value, generating a bit of value. So I imagine Collinator chose to go the uh, on the value plan here and try and outgrind this deck. And I'm not to say which plan is best. That I'm not even sure Collinator is sure which plan is best, but that's the plan that he has chosen to feel more comfortable with, trying to just steadily outgrind.
He said, I'm building my deck as a blue-white control deck. I'm going to win the late game, and I'm not backing off of that now just because somebody cast an Eldrazi against me.
Yeah, that's more or less where we are.
A player after your own heart, Anders. I will cast my divination one way or another.
Life and divinations find a way. But I'm going to be honest with you. We see Oust here on a Plague Mirror. It's not what July Zerg wants to see, but it's okay. And Khan hiding away at Teferi there. So I imagine we will see a Teferi in our near future.
Karn does
Um,
present that value engine that Carlinator was missing on in the last game, but we see 10 mana being tapped here.
yes.
So some
To
Eldrazi
see
triggers going on the
me,
stack, whether the Eldrazi comes into play or not. I think.
I would have a hard time because we saw Wizard's Retort going from Karn to hand earlier. So that was sort of known.
Well,
There's the
maybe you
thing
were
here.
watching the game, but I was checking Twitch.
That's okay. Um, there is a thing here, a bit technical thing, where you might want to let the Costelec draw trigger resolve before you counter, because if you counter before, then they'll have two Costelecs in their deck instead of one
Right.
when they draw four cards. It's a very minor thing, and it's might have been Collinator wanting that to happen, and that's okay.
But you know, this is a
They could
game
have had good reasons, but it's something
about
to
playing a long game, right? This matchup is about grinding it out, and so those little advantages. This is the kind of game where they matter.
yes, and it's more for the viewers at home to be really thinking about all these sort of technical things that doesn't feel like they usually matter, and then sometimes they do matter. But I also think like it's not huge. It might be a few percentages. Um, where now July will have to spend another few turns before they find their Eldrazi.
So no Ulamogs out of July Zerg, is that correct?
Let me double check. But none in the main deck, and none in the sideboard.
Because now, even if Kozilek were to come down, it would still be a problem against this Teferi. And so, you know, maybe we're in a situation where we're hoping to land a conscription on an Inkmoth Nexus and finish the game that way. But uh, Kozilek no longer looking to be the unstoppable force with this Teferi in play. Drawing 4 is always good, but 10 mana is
Well,
kind of an expensive way to do it.
how about spending 7 mana to just get rid of this Teferi? July Strike just revealed all his dust to their ancient stirrings.
All is dust, good against Teferi, less good against Karn.
Less great against Karn.
Inkmoth Nexus attacks Teferi. So I guess we're not ready to play that All is Dust just yet.
Yeah, I imagine so. And to be honest, slightly surprised to still see it, but might have been okay. We are playing all this dust.
Maybe we decided mid combat that actually that's what we
No,
wanted to
I
do. Or...
imagine this was to bait. Yeah, this was to bait out a seal away.
Ah,
Because July Strike, in order to play around a cancel, because it's so important to get this Teferi off the board, you're willing to throw your Inkmot into a Seal Away or an Invoke the Divine to get Colonnade low on mana so they can't counter your All is Dust.
Well, and if they do steal away your
Your All is
Nexus, you're
Dusting.
just getting it back.
Exactly. Let me see here. Invoke the Divine and Seal Away.
Invoke,
And
destroying
Artifact.
an artifact or enchantment.
Enchantment, yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, we also see
now
Mirrodin
here's a
Beseiged.
window for another All is Dust.
Yes. And I'd love for this to happen, just because it's such a blowout. Can't wait to see what July 6 is working with here. Is it another All is Dust?
Looks some
Is
kind of
it
Eldrazi spell is getting cast. I can say that
for
with
8
some
mana?
confidence.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is another All is Dust.
So here comes Inkmoth Nexus back to the party. Karn still representing a colorless threat on the other side of the board.
Yeah.
But the value engine continues on July Zurik's side as Corsair Krufix comes down and says, let's smooth out these draws a little bit.
Yep. And bear in mind, Colonnade also still has to win the game at some point.
I wonder if we start to see 2/2s come into play or artifact constructs come into play here in the near future.
I would imagine. I could imagine Karn returning Invoke the Divine to get rid of Corsair right now.
Yep. But
then
it's
we
only a
might
matter
start
of time
seeing
until Karn does start to have meaningful text towards the battlefield. Yeah.
it will happen eventually, because July Zurich cannot be left alive. That is too dangerous.
Yep. And we're seeing how much velocity this green deck has as Ancient Stirrings, Corsair Krufix. We just use Scape Shift to clear a bunch of lands out of the deck and just keep recycling things. You know, we can work our way through quite a number of cards here, but Gideon comes down, and now there is a threat on the board.
Now there's the 6/6 speed stick. It's not nothing.
Stirrings. We saw that on top of the deck earlier.
Yeah.
Gets a Kozilek.
Okay.
Eldrazi time.
With
Second Kozilek cast this game.
Yeah, and there's no obvious way of removing it right now. We're through the first 2 Teferis. This might spell trouble for Collimator.
How many Sealaways do we have in Carlinator's deck here?
4. The full 4. But do you want to seal away a Kozilek?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. You're the control deck and you'll do what you have to do.
Yeah, ideally you'd like to do something else. I will give you that.
I mean, Seal Away, well, I would say it deals with it permanently, but as we've seen, All is Dust can take care of that Seal Away, so.
Yeah.
Such a grindy deck here.
Yeah. Which is like, there's another Karn here. Gideon can only really take up, so at least Kozilek is attacking Gideon, and then you can sacrifice Gideon to the Annihilator trigger, and that's a bit fun. Yay. Yeah, but it's not ideal. Also, these Inkmot next time might start, not this turn because they'll have to attack Gideon, but at some point they'll start.
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it in the previous game.
I'll have to kudos to July Zurich, because this deck it looks like such a mess when you look at it fast, but it's actually quite beautifully built.
It is.
Where you churn all these incremental advantages with Kozilek triggers and all these scrappy creatures that your opponent kind of has to deal with anyway. You turn them into oh, is it another All is Dust here? Oh no.
Uh-oh.
That is so rude. No, there's no strategy conscription. Okay, of course. Get out of here.
Not today, friend.
Not today.
All right, I guess we'll attack Gideon.
Yes.
Only one Eldrazi will be attacking this combat step.
Yeah, Ingmar Nexus might still attack because Collinator could choose to, not sacrifice Gideon, seal away the Kozilek, and then you still want to get your 2 damage in if you're not spending the mana otherwise. Sacrificing Karn. Okay.
And there's the
That's
seal away you mentioned.
yeah.
Gideon does protect against these poison tokens fairly effectively here, taking gradual steps in increments of 2. Oh, and sealing away one of the ink moths as well. So now we have a lot of time, and we can really start attacking with the Gideon without worrying too much about the slow poison damage.
Yeah.
And
But
we really just need to dodge that All Is Dust from July Zerg.
Yeah, but that's the thing. July Zerg kind of have inevitability here.
Well,
and now there's another Kozilek.
That does make it more difficult, I will say. I was going to say there's a window where Gideon could be attacking before July Zerg finds an All Is Dust or another threat. But with the velocity of this deck, the Ancient Stirrings, finding the right pieces, there's that light minefield, but not the answer you want against Kozilek the Butcher.
Not quite there yet. No. There's still the option to oust Kozilek.
I mean, it is a legal play that you can make in this game of Magic the Gathering.
Yes. But it might actually buy you the time. Like, once again, the cards July Zerg are drawing. It's not heavy hitters. This is not Mike Tyson we're drawing on here.
Gideon does have a long way to go against July Zerg's life total due to some ousts earlier in the game.
Oh yeah, we might not even have ousts left. 1, 2... No, only 2 ousts.
July Zerg getting to reuse his cards as much as he wants, but Carlinator not playing any Felden's Canes.
No Elixir of Immortality this year.
Oh, and there's the format all-star sitting on top of the deck there in Vivian Reed. Vivian Reed can take out these sealaways, can take out the light minefield, or it can just sit there and draw cards until there's nothing... until July has everything they need. July sitting there with 7 cards in hand right now against Carlinator's 2.
Yeah, this cannot be how Carlinator imagined this to go. And
yet Teferi comes out, and we still have a game here. I mean,
yes, we do still have a game. Oh, Light Minefield plus Gideon is kind of funny because normally with Light Minefield is that, well, your opponent can just play around it because it's face up and they can just only attack with creatures that'll live. Oh, look, there's Kozilek already.
Of course, you're helping us get there a little bit faster.
Yeah. It's not...
Let's cast an additional Eldrazi spell. Is this All Is Dust?
I think this is Conscription. No, it is All Is Dust.
All Is Dust.
Yikes.
Really brutal here. Kozilek comes back into play. Inkmoth Nexus comes back into play. All the Planeswalkers dealt with. And let's poison.
I think this is more, well, now I have them. I don't think July Zerg is imagining this to be a poison victory.
It starts to be hard to imagine how Carlinator gets out of it at this point.
And we're back at July Zerg's deck. Just honestly, it's really beautiful.
It is.
It looks like this complete mess. How is this strategy? Scave Shift, all this does, Ancient Stirrings,
Yeah,
Plague Mirror alongside Eldritch Rejuvenator. What is going on here? But it just works.
on paper
It just works.
it is tough to understand exactly how the deck plays out, but seeing it go through the motions, it is just this slow
Yeah,
steamroller that is gonna get there if you
there's
don't stop, if you
yeah,
don't kill it.
there's definitely some it's bigger than the sum of the whole is bigger than the sum of the parts thing going on here, because you're looking at Plague Mirror next to Eldritch Rejuvenator.
I
Anyways,
have to imagine that was the last game.
that
That took
was
quite a
our
while.
final match of Swiss.